Hello, and welcome to the Ask Ezra podcast, real people with intimacy challenges and real intimacy coaching. I'm Sir Ezra Algos, intimacy coach at askezra.info. If this is your first episode, you might be asking yourself, what is intimacy coaching? One definition is that an intimacy coach helps people feel safer, closer, and more connected to their lovers, friends, and even themselves. It is my goal to help people become closer to the people that they care about. So join me for this session already in progress.
One of the more recent changes for me has been dealing with gender and being able to express myself comfortably. Being able to dress in a more feminine energy, as I call it, has always been a desire of mine for many years, since I was a kid. And I didn't get the courage to do it until about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now. And it was a very empowering experience. As time went on, my wardrobe built out and I got a ton of stuff, but I didn't have the courage to go outside in it, right? It was like I felt ashamed and I was inside the four walls of safety, right? And it was very angering. It hurt. Like I felt pain inside of my body. Throughout this process, I've tried to get other people's experiences or input on, well, what does expression mean to you and how do you get from this point to this point? And what I realized is I was coming across different types of expression and understanding of identity, right? I kept running into walls with the binary folks because it wasn't what I was feeling and it wasn't what I was thinking. But these were all the people I was coming across were the binary. Yeah. And it was very conflicting, right? And it went against everything I was feeling. So I felt alone in this small group of people already. It wasn't until I started speaking with some transgendered folks and friends of mine who I needed to share with them what I was feeling because the other binary group didn't understand. And down in DomCon, I did the cross-dresser pageant, right? And I won, but I was also very conflicted because I don't consider myself a cross-dresser. The cross-dresser for me, it acknowledges the binary. And now I'll get to why this is not for me. And I had this huge imposter syndrome. I felt like a man in high heels on stage and it was painful for me because that's not how I feel inside, right? So I hit a wall with myself, right? I'm tired of being angry with myself for not having the courage. So what that ended up doing is it opened my mind to me going even deeper. Well, what am I doing? What am I trying to access, right? What am I trying to find in myself? What permission do I need to give myself to accept who I am? Roughly, right? Those are the words I can put around the feelings, but there's a lot more that goes to it. Yeah. And I sat and I spoke with a few folks, and I'm very thankful for what they shared with me because ultimately what ended up happening is I had to ask myself, well, where do I believe expression comes from? Who are we and where does that exist, right? And it was, I sat and it was like, I felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall for 2 weeks because I just couldn't get past this question. Everything was clouded up until this point. And well, I sat with myself and I said, well, if our gender, if our biological sex doesn't dictate who we are as a person, as a human being with a soul, where does the soul come from, right? And where does the spirit come from, right? And for me, it's internal, it's character, it's identity, it's the essence of a person, right? Not the physicality of a person. This is like our meat spacesuit, right? But our
mech,
essence,
our meat mech,
our meat mech, but our essence comes from somewhere else. And that's what I believe is important, right? Our plumbing is not relevant to me. It doesn't dictate anything other than science and medicine, right? And that's the extent that gender, that the biological sex goes with me. So what I ended up doing ultimately is zeroing out the currency. Like I don't recognize gender as a person's character. right? Because it's not who you are.
Mm.
And I'm not going to allow it for myself. So in my own mind, and what I've had to ask myself is, what do I believe in? And to me, gender doesn't identify a person. It doesn't. Your soul, your essence identifies who you are. So allow your soul to express. I'm allowing my soul to express myself in how I'm feeling in that moment. However other people want to identify is cool. That's your problem, not mine,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't have to worry about that value, that label within myself anymore.
Yeah.
And it was a switch that went off, and it literally gave me permission to get dressed up and go out within minutes of determining that that's what I was feeling, that's where I landed.
Joshua, sometimes I feel like we're on a similar path. I identify as non-binary. I mean, despite the long hair and the painted fingernails, I have some real hesitancy on wearing more feminine clothing. But I'm proud of you for really taking that risk. Hey everybody, it's Ezra. And wow, isn't that exciting? Wouldn't you like to be the next guest on our show? Well, you can. Just email askezra8@gmail.com. And hey, if being on the show is too much and you'd just like to get some private intimacy coaching, that's available too. Now back to our show. And I want to jump back to, I heard fear, anger, shame, right? And so these are things that held you back in the past, right? Sometimes it's like wearing a weighted vest, and we almost forget that the weight is there until we take a weight out. And so I'm really happy to hear that you're unburdened, but I also know that, there may also still be some weight that we're just not feeling. And that's okay to not feel it. It's the survival mechanism, but I think we can still unpack too. And so I want to ask, do we know where the shame comes from? You say you wanted to do it since you were a kid. Can you remember?
I think definitely society.
Yeah. Society's a big one, but I would encourage you to really sort of think and say, was there a time when you maybe did branch out and then you got smacked down, right? Where was there a point of conflict, or was it just the general socialization?
General socialization. I didn't have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
I was in leather before I was in high heels, much sooner, much sooner in leather than I was in high heels. Like you said, it was a weight lifted, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no idea what else is
in there, right? What else is in the weight vest? When
I first did it, when I first dressed up,
mm-hmm.
A friend of mine by the name of Linwood, who was a drag performer by Shirley You Jest. I believe they still perform drag occasionally. But I've known Linwood for about 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful. I mean, they look like Scarlett Johansson. Like I fall in love every time I see her. Right. So I was talking with them about this process because I wanted someone to talk to, but I had no one to talk to. And they were like my mentor. They asked me, they said, who was your diva growing up? And it was like, I didn't have a diva. And he sent me a GIF of Bugs Bunny going down the rabbit hole and coming up cross-dressed.
Yeah.
And how much of a showstopper Bugs Bunny was. And when I saw that, that was what hit the marker for me. It was that power that Bugs Bunny had when they came up and everything stopped, right? Just beauty and strength and confidence. And that's what I wanted to feel, was what Bugs Bunny was feeling. And the first time I did it, it was right there, right in my heart. And it was so warm and fulfilling and sad and angering because I couldn't access it readily. I was too weak to do it. And that lasted for 2 years of just being too weak and then seeing people. I know now it was unnecessary, but then I didn't know better because that's all I had, because that's what life showed me.
Yeah, well, and it was a protective mechanism, right? It didn't feel safe to explore.
like what I want to take from that is the message of, if something's holding you up, right? If there's a wall that I hit, well, what do I believe in? What's my belief on my holdup? Like, and how do I address it? How can I work through shame or fear? And something like this is what does that, right? Is being able to sit and talk with someone who understands what personal journey is, and the doubt and the fear that comes with it, right? That's why I got into the similar, is because like the way you're able to create space and help, it makes a difference.
Yeah. And like, that's half of the value of the work, is to just digest that shame, you know. We're not, I feel like it's always a matter of halves, you know. We cut it in half, and then we can cut what's left in half. And so it's never going to be 100% gone, you know, but we can reduce the impact that it has on our lives. Right.
Yeah. And, you know, and after all was said and done, I'm not wearing high heels as much as I want to, because they fucking hurt.
Yes, they do.
Right. I've been wearing the hell out a lot of boots, but it's more because for me, it's the essence, it's the feel in the body. Right? And there's too much value in that for me. There's too much strength and authenticity in it that feels so strong. I cannot sacrifice. It's like RPGs, playing role-playing games, right? And you level up your characters, and it's like, I'm going to take these 10 points and add them to courage, right? High heels give me points, right? Dresses give me points, right? Wigs, not so much, because they're long. Well, sometimes they give me points too, but finding the attributes, right, that can help me be a stronger person. This is what that whole moving beyond that point, that's part of what helped me get to calculating, getting to the point of what does gender mean to me was, well, this helps me feel stronger. So why am I not doing it? Right? This helps me feel more
what's keeping
myself. You? So why am I not doing it? And that's where the gender value thing came in next. Well, what's my holdup? And I was able to look at it from that framework.
Hey, everybody, it's Ezra. Do some of these challenges sound like some of the things you've been dealing with? Maybe your challenges are very different, but you just love to have somebody to work on them with. Well, you're not alone on your journey. I'm here to help. So email askezra8@gmail.com or visit us at askezra.info, and maybe we can set up a session where we just focus on you. All right, back to the last component of our show. Something that I experience a lot with clients is a fear, right? And it's not an irrational fear, you know, it's very rational. Being transgender, being genderqueer can get you killed, right? Like, that's real. That's not made up. You know, and even if your life is not at risk, your status can be at risk, right? I mean, you were in the Marines, right?
Yeah.
So I just want to, for a second, imagine like you're experiencing maybe some fallout now, some collateral damage to this exploration. How much greater would it have been mid-Marines career?
Oh, crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in there from 18 to 22.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I went into law enforcement, which is even fucking worse.
Yeah.
Right. And I was there for almost 10 years. And that's hyper fucking, it's just like the military, paramilitary, fucking nut jobs. And mind you, I still have family and friends that are doing it. And I have very strong stances on all that stuff. But anyway, in that environment, you know, it's not easy, right? Because it's ultra mask, right? And everyone's got to be a fucking tough guy.
Yeah.
In the same breath, I didn't hide who I was. I just didn't have the courage then to even look at that door.
Yeah, to really explore it.
Like, it wasn't even on my radar. And I wonder, how would I give myself permission? How could I given myself permission then, knowing what I know now, right? So if I can meet someone going through the same thing 20 years my junior, what can I tell them that would help them? And doesn't even have to be in in identity expression, but
Mm.
just in anything.
Yeah. Well, I think something that's really valuable is to reframe these things that held us back, right? They can feel, you can feel like almost like theft, right? Like it stole my ability to express myself, my ability to explore was stolen by this mechanism, right? By this fear. We come from experiences that we needed to protect ourselves from, and you needed to protect yourself in that space. And so, I mean, that's wonderful. Thank goodness that you protected yourself, because that's how you got here today. That's how you survived, right? And so it's really easy to say, like, I hate that part of myself, or I hate that part of my life, but thank goodness it was there. And, we can celebrate it. And I think acceptance isn't just about accepting where we are now or who we've discovered that we are now. Acceptance is also really loving who we had to be to get here, right?
Yeah. The other night, I was with my slave and my partner, and they said, "Master, you know what song you remind me of?" And I was like, "Which one?" And they go, "Sinatra, My Way." And I laughed because in my mind, I've always played that song in my funeral, right? And in her mind, I would play it as my success to life, right? It was like very contrasting. So I reflected on where I was in that time of my life that I was listening to that, and to sit with it and to listen to it one more time and to reflect on who I was, how young I was going through that shit, and standing on this side and looking at him, at me, and saying, "Man, they beat you down, dude. And here you are. It's okay now, dude. You don't have to be in survival mode anymore. You're not where you were." Right? It was to repurpose it, to reframe it is huge. Right. And I'm thankful for her for telling me that, because it allowed me to look back and acknowledge what I've been through. Because that's something else I don't do, is take a moment to say, you've got some bumps and bruises, man. Like, and here you are, right? And you did good. And you're doing better, right? You can have a seat now, because you don't have to carry the bags anymore, right?
Yeah, sometimes it takes somebody else's perspective to remind us of how far we've come. And I think that gratitude is really important, of not just, someone else's perspective, as valuable as that is, but again, gratitude of those parts of ourselves that have held us up, that have kept us going, even when they create challenging habits today, right? Even when they create barriers for us today, they created barriers for us in the past that helped us survive. Thanks for watching the Ask Ezra podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your friends on social media. If you would like to review this episode, please do so at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to support the episode, go to patreon.com/askezra, and you can sign up for our mailing list at askezra8@gmail.com. Lastly, if you'd like to find out if intimacy coaching is right for you, visit askezra.info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to tune in next time.